You would never think the illusion of a perfect marriage would break this way. I looked at the man on my right and realized I was sitting across from a complete stranger. Everything fell apart because of the gift. The rough shell of the oyster scraped against her lower lip. The stranger to her left sucked down the slippery flesh with a loud gulp. The silver fork weighed just enough in her fingers for the steel to bite into her skin. The scent of shallot vinegar hit her nostrils with brute force. Her throat immediately tightened in a dry spasm. Who was the man to her right? Why was he sitting in this house? She saw a man in a charcoal shirt. He was cutting the shell open with unnatural precision. "Darling, aren't you touching the sauce?" The man looked up. His eyes were milky and grey. His left hand rested beside his plate, completely limp. His fingers suddenly loosened. The heavy knife slipped from his grip and dropped noiselessly onto the tablecloth. The man didn't even look at it. His face was motionless. His gaze resembled a sheet of dirty ice. Not a single muscle twitched beneath his skin. No tremor, no pupillary response. Anna did not pull back. She braced her hands against the table and leaned her body forward. The steel fork bent under the pressure of her fingers. She forced her lips into a rigid smile, baring her teeth. "The sauce is too acidic. You always use too much lemon, sweetheart." She let the words out slowly. She squeezed the words out breathlessly, straining each syllable. The word sweetheart sounded hollow and artificial. She watched his throat, waiting for the slightest movement. The man did not react. He swallowed hard, his jaw clamped tight. He remained silent a second too long. Finally, he looked down at his plate. "Adam was the one who ordered the food, Sunshine. Have you forgotten?" He struck his fork against the plate. He nodded toward the man on the left. The sound was sharp and brief. "Your memory can be unreliable lately." A shiver ran down Anna's spine. The word sunshine brought a chill. He stared at her, cold and still. He did not blink. He was waiting for her reaction. The waiter froze, wine bottle in hand. His fingers began to scratch nervously at his trousers. Glass rattled against the neck of the bottle. Adam leaned toward her. She caught the scent of his cologne. It was suffocating and foreign. "You always preferred sharper flavors, didn't you?" he asked quietly. Under the table, his knee drove into her thigh. The pressure was painful. The fabric of her dress strained tight. She did not move. She looked at him. He was smiling, but a small muscle pulsed in his cheek. A heavy silence fell over the living room. She could hear nothing but the ringing in her ears and the hum of the air conditioning. Around her she saw concrete walls and black furniture. There were no photographs, no mementos, no trace of life. A 10th anniversary is no time for arguments, is it? Martha leaned across the table. Her necklace clinked against the porcelain. "Pete, did you buy a present for Annie, or did you wing it again?" "Pete, Annie." The name sounded foreign. The man on the right was Pete. She was Annie. These names were meant to connect them. They were meant to recall 10 years of a shared life. Instead, her body went numb. She felt a weakness in her knees. The monotonous ringing in her ears grew louder. The pressure of his fingers on the rim of the porcelain was too light. The plate moved across the smooth tablecloth, and Peter felt the resistance of the fabric fibers rubbing against his fingertips. "We never improvised, Martha," he replied slowly. He looked at Annie's face. He watched the corners of her mouth, checking if they would tremble. "My wife knows what I've prepared. Don't you, darling?" He slid his hand across the table, leaving a long streak on the cloth. "Of course." She braced her hands on the table and stood up. The scrape of a chair echoed loudly. The other guests examined her dress. "But first, I'm going to give my husband his present. This is our evening together." She took the package from the dresser. The paper rustled beneath her fingers. The object was heavy and cold. It almost slipped from her hands. She did not know what was inside. She had taken it because it looked like a gift. She placed the package in front of the man in the charcoal shirt. The paper crinkled against the tablecloth. "Open it, Sunshine." Her voice was calm, though she was trembling inside. Peter froze. He smiled strangely. With a single yank, he tore the paper open. A heavy metallic object fell onto the tablecloth. Rust was visible at the base of the hilt. The man stared at the present. His pupils dilated rapidly. His chest rose in a sharp intake of breath. He looked at her hands, then into her eyes. I thought we buried this." He violently threw himself back. The chair hit the floor with a loud crash. Anna raised her hands in a knee-jerk reaction. Her heart began to race before she could even think. Her hands, with a reflexive jerk, positioned themselves in mid-air in a defensive stance, as if her fingers remembered the leaden weight of the hilt. Only then, deep in her chest, just below the breastbone, did her heart break into an unnatural, dull gallop. Now, she remembers too.
This oyster shell, a silver blade, a 10-year lie, a masquerade. You smiled that smile so cold and gray. A part of me was worlds away. But this gift for you, it breaks the spell. I thought we buried this in hell.